All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Bear and the Dragon by Tom Clancy. This is book number 8, 9, or 10 or something in Tom Clancy's massive Jack Ryan thriller series. This one came out in the year 2000. In the year 2000. In the year 2000. This book came out. A Tom Clancy thriller, The Bear and the Dragon, in the year 2000. Let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. I really love this cover. I mean, it's just big, it's bold, it says Tom Clancy, it's got gold foil. I'm always a sucker for gold foil covers. Now, I also have the little paperback here, which is a little less, snazzy. I mean, there's got a little picture of a boat. On the back side, the back side, god damn, I just about dropped that. We'll edit that part out. On the back is the same author photo in both. So anyway, you could be like, well, he's wearing a MAGA hat. No, he's not. He's wearing a U.S. Navy. USS Iowa. Anyway, so I like this cover quite a bit better. It's just cool. And I'm a huge Tom Clancy fan. I've read all of them. And I'm rereading all of them for the channel to leave a review. I have not read this book since the year 2000 when it came out, so this was a reread. And I will tell you, the first time I read it, I don't know if it was my favorite Jack Ryan, Tom Clancy book. I don't know if it was. But now after reading it again in this day and age, 25 years later, I'm like, oh my God, some of the stuff that Tom Clancy brings up in this book is super relevant to what's going on today. But anyway, in this book is, of course, Jack Ryan, our main character, who's been through many adventures and many previous books, like The Hunt for Red October, Patriot Game, Clear and Present Danger, all of them. At the beginning of this book, Jack Ryan is the President of the United States. Due to many events that happened in the previous book to this one, which I will not spoil for you, let's just say, he ends up as the President of the United States. That's where we start. Now, the beginning of this novel starts off with a car explosion, a rocket who is dead. They're saying that the guy that died in this car explosion that takes place in Moscow is like, this guy is a Russian pimp who was killed. Was he the real target? The car explosion has ties to the Red Sparrow program, the Red Sparrow book by, what's his name? I can't remember the guy's name. It's a great book, and then they made a great movie of it with Jennifer Lawrence. The Red Sparrow program is involved in this. It's a real program in Moscow back in the day. President Jack Ryan now faces, because of this explosion in Moscow that's killed this pimp, who may or may not be our real target. And Jack Ryan faces a world in crisis unlike any before. Oh my God. The high-level assassination attempt in Russia has left an already unstable Russia vulnerable to Chinese forces and sabotage, and China is eager to fulfill its destination, which is its destiny. Its destination is its ultimate destiny, and that is world domination. And of course, not only do we have Jack Ryan, our main character, fighting against this, but we've also got our anti-terrorism specialist, Jack Clark, and all of his friends that are also investigating this. Now, as I was reading, and that's the basic plot boiled down in a nutshell, as I was reading this, the themes of the book really struck me the second time I read it, because they are so more relevant today than they were almost back then. So, this book, The Bear and the Dragon, takes place between Russia and China, and it bounces back and forth between kind of three perspectives: the American perspective with Jack Ryan, the Russian perspective with a whole host of characters, and the Chinese perspective with a whole host of characters. And it bounces back and forth. And we see in Russia that there's still, I mean, this takes place in the year 2000, just about 10 years after the Berlin Wall fell and Russia became sort of not a communist country and started to be more of a capitalist country. So 10 years into their experiment with capitalism is when this book takes place. However, there is still the old guard KGB kind of guys left around, like Putin and a few things like that. And they are, they're not too keen on this new Russia. And so we're dealing with that. And this is the kind of like the beginnings of kind of what started the whole reign of Putin and where we are today. The elites, the elites, this is where Tom Clancy really zeroes in on a few things that are so important today. And I just realized when I read this the first time, like it didn't sink into me what he was really saying. But now on a second reading, like we get to see the history of the Tiananmen Square thing that happened in China. He gives us the history of how all that went down and what that meant. And then the elites in America, the Democrats, the left, the progressives, the media, how all of them have demonized capitalism in America. And the rich, they blame everything on the rich. The rich are to blame for all the world's problems. And he goes in to explain this and how even in the year 2000, this was a massive, massive talking point on the left. And my God, I think it's only gotten worse. I mean, the same horseshit has just followed us. And there's a big compare and contrast between the way America does things and the way these two other countries are doing things, and how much better America is because it has the freedoms. And Russia is just starting to sniff these freedoms. But there's a lot of the people in Russia that just still want the communism. And there's people in America that are fighting for communism in America. And it's just talks about the scumbags, not only the foreign dictators that are scumbags, but it also talks about American leaders who are scumbags too. And this is where it's just crazy. This is where Tom Clancy just sometimes predicts the wildest things to happen. Like Tom Clancy wrote a book about terrorists flying airplanes into buildings long before 9/11. And here he talks about world leaders, American diplomats, and American Congress all being involved in pedo rings and pedophile. I mean, it's just like, it's crazy the way that he just predicts stuff. And he's talking about it in this book, which takes place in the year 2000. And now even in the year 2025, it's at the top of our daily news with the Epstein files and stuff. But he talks about how leadership corrupts, like leadership can corrupt people. There's this passage in here, and he's not just talking about American leadership. He's talking about leaders in every country all the time throughout history, everywhere. And this is what, there was a passage he wrote that really struck me here. And I wanted to read it to you. It's a lot of them, and he's talking about people that get into leadership positions. A lot of them were regular people. But what you didn't allow for was the seductive nature of life in elected government service. The money isn't all that great, but the perks are. And a lot of people like being treated like a medieval prince. A lot of people like being able to enforce their will on the world. The people who used to be there, they started out as pretty good people. But the nature of the job is to seduce and capture and corrupt. And yeah, that's basically the theme of this whole book. This is a great political thriller, not necessarily like a smash up, explosions, gunfights, spy thriller. This is a political thriller where this is a lot of people with a lot of different politics going back and forth, and all of them seem corrupt except for Jack Ryan. Of course, he's the only noble character in this universe. And and then the discussions in this book that even relate to today are just overwhelming. Like, there's massive discussions in this book about tariffs and how unfair the trade with China is. And this is written in 2000. And he goes, there's a whole thrust of this book. The whole plot line of this book that we're dealing with China is, why are we getting extorted by China with all these tariffs? And it's almost as like Trump used this novel as a playbook for his presidency. It's almost like this novel is playing out 25 years later in real life. I mean, Chinese stealing our intellectual property. China, and then when we go into the history of how China had the one baby rule, like Chinese couples were only allowed to have one baby. So mostly they just had boys. And if they did have girls, a lot of them would adopt them out to Americans, like tens and hundreds of thousands just got adopted out to America. And the ones they didn't want, they would just kill. They would give birth to them and just throw them off a cliff or in a well or drown them. It's just absolute tragedy that these governments, these communist governments, Russia and China, they just put it upon their people. I mean, it was tragic. I mean, that's all I can say. Tragic. And then we get into a lot of the different types of warfare that they were starting to use in the year 2000. Like the drone warfare was a big thing, flying drones from the computer at home and flying them and having them kill people. And my God, now we're just talking about AI doing all that. We're building AI airplanes to just go fight the wars for us. All of this stuff predicted in this book. And this is why this book was like such an eye-opener. When I first read it in the year 2000, when I first read it, all of this went over my head. I just was a younger person, didn't give a shit. Now it sinks in so deeply because we're living the very plot of this book. We're living it right now with these two countries. And it's crazy how Tom Clancy could he put all of it in there. And I only meant, this is a tip of the iceberg. Every other page that I opened, I was like, oh my God, that's still happening today. Oh my God, we're still dealing with that. Oh my God, that part's gotten worse. Oh my God. Yeah, just crazy. When I read this in the year 2000, I probably would have given it I thought it was all right. It was a Tom Clancy thriller. I love Tom Clancy. Probably would have given it like a 7.5 or an 8. I think I gotta give this literally a 9.9 at this point. It's just it leapfrogged into my top 5 Tom Clancy's of all time. So anyway, there you go.